I'll say this, y'all are the real MVPs, right? Because you showed up to probably one of the most unsexiest topics when it comes to multifamily, which is CapEx budgets and how those are created, how they play a part in your overall business plan, how do you execute on it? That's what we're going to be covering today. It's not pretty, but it is very important. So appreciate you for taking time out to chat. You know, we do a topic on raising money or buying your first deal or something. We get a whole lot of registrants, but for the CapEx stuff, for you to show up, that means that you've definitely taking it seriously. So let's go ahead and hop right into this here, right? So for those of you who are new here, may not have been familiar with me or my company, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So right now you should be looking at the real. That's RIL apartments.com. RIL apartments or realapartments.com. This is our website. We got to focus on multifamily. We try to incorporate as much affordable housing into that as possible because we see there's a big need in the market right now. So if you want to come in, read about what we're doing there, some of our previous investments, like opportunities that we own, find out about our team. RILapartments.com is where you can do that. If you want to hear about our deals, right? We're constantly making offers and sending LOIs out. We had a very good meeting with some people from the city yesterday. So we've got deals and attractive deals that are coming out. If you're interested in hearing about those, then you want to click on that Invest Now tab at the top. That'll take you to a brief form. You fill that out. We have a conversation, and that will allow you to hear about our investments. All right, so let me stop the screen share. Let's go ahead and dig into this. All right, CapEx, let's talk about it. It's very, very important with this. Value add deals are primarily where we focus at, right? If you're buying apartments, you know that the way that you really maximize the income is with the value add strategy. So how do you put that together, right? What are you doing when it comes to unit renovations in order to increase that value? So ultimately you can sell your property for more than you bought it. Turn a profit to you, turn a profit to your investors. That's what it's all about. So when you start, what we do when we get started with the properties, we really figure out from the rental comps what we can actually do with this asset. Okay, so if our current rents are $1,200, then we're going to do a thorough analysis of comparable properties within that market that's fairly close in order to see how much room we have to move those $1,200 rents. So we're at $1,200 and we've got properties that are nearby that are going for $1,500 or $1,600, whatever it is. Then we're going to try to capitalize on that delta. Now, when you are thinking about the future rents, and hopefully y'all are familiar with rent comps, where you can get them from. You can pull them. We use websites like CoStar to get rental comps. If you're not using a software like that, you can also get rental comps off of sites like apartments.com, or even calling is a great way to really do some market research. But what you want to think about when you're coming up with those rents is the class of the property. So if you're buying an A-class property or B or C, you want to make sure that you're comparing it to B to C, right? A way to do that is off of the age, right? So if your property was built in 1975 or 85 or 90, you want to look at properties that are built around that same time, because there's going to be variations in the market based off of the age of the property. There's just a different type of build and construction if you're comparing a property that was built in, say, 2000 to a property that was built in 75. There's going to be changes there that you have to account for. And usually that's going to bleed over into the amount of rents that you can charge. So what we do is we come in, we say, okay, does this property match our vintage, right? Does it match the class of property? And then another key indicator is going to be the square footage, right? So if you're buying this happens a lot, especially on smaller deals and on deals where you just don't have a similar comp, right? You really want to focus on the square footage, right? And do it like a price per square foot or rent per square foot. on these apartments, because you may be buying all 1 bedrooms that are 600 square feet and then trying to compare that to 1 bedrooms that are 900 square feet. It's a pretty big 1 bedroom, but you get what I'm saying, right? You could have a 800 square foot bedroom that just has more space, and that's going to be more attractive to the renter. So taking the square footage into account will allow you to get to a price better, right? Or a more accurate rental comp. So we're doing that. We're all about trying to come up how much we can increase these rents now. Okay. So you want to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples. So if you're looking at a property and it's a B class or a C class, you want to make sure that you find another B or C, and you have to take into account the other things that may come with that. So even though a property may be, I saw this in a deal just the other day. It was a 58 unit, and the broker sent over comparable properties, which were 150, like 160 units compared to this 58 unit or something property. A 58 unit property will have a different set of amenities than a, say, 200 unit property, right? So you have to take that into account. If somebody is getting, they got a pool, they got a clubhouse, they got a gym, maybe trash valet, they're going to be able to achieve higher rents, right? So stick with me. We're going to get to the CapEx budget, but I want you to understand how to think about your rental comps to know what you can potentially achieve. Once you understand what you can potentially achieve, now you want to start doing the work, right? And that's when you want to engage a property manager. So in our example, we said we started off with $1,200 rents. We may think we can get to $1,500 rents, but to understand that we can actually get there, we need accurate rental comps, comparing apples to apples. Once we determine that, now it's time to back in to what do we need to renovate? What do we need to change in this property from its current condition in order to be able to get it to its future condition that will allow us to go up, $300, $400 a month. And with doing that, you have to think through how the renovation is going to happen. All right. So I'm going to share a spreadsheet. If you stick with me to the end of this, I'll break up a spreadsheet and maybe we can make it available to you that actually goes through our CapEx budget. But before we get into that, I want to take some time to just have you think through how a rehab is going to happen on the property, right? You can have a property manager do the rehab, or you could utilize a third-party contractor, right? So if you have a property manager who's going to do the rehab for you, as you're budgeting for this, you could think that it's going to be a little bit cheaper because you might be able to use in-house. You might have a maintenance man that has the ability to turn units. Okay. Or you might have a third-party contractor that's going to come in and they'll do the work. And as you get larger and you buy more, there are some companies that are vertically integrated, meaning that the same company that buys the apartment complex actually has a construction piece to them or a general contractor on staff, and they do the work themselves. You just have to figure out what your plan is going into a property. If we've done both. So on some of our units, we'll have the maintenance man turn or do a portion of the turn, right? A maintenance guy may be able to paint the unit. So they'll do the paint, they may do demolition, and then we may also have a third-party person come in and do like the flooring or cabinets. But understand this, if you're doing it in-house, you're going to be able to save on money, right? By having the having your staff be able to turn units. However, it's going to take longer because your maintenance person also has to do service calls, right? So as a tenant says, hey, I got a clogged up toilet or whatever, they got to go take care of that as well as turn your units. So it's usually slower, but it's going to save you money. If you use a third-party contractor, it's going to be faster. They may be able to come out and knock out a handful of units or even more in a week, but it's going to be more expensive. So just laying a foundation here so that as you think about how to renovate your property, you want to know who's going to do this renovation, right? And that comes in engaging your property manager, right? So one of the, if you haven't done so already, if you've been listening to me for any of these webinars, we always talk about the importance of the property manager, and with renovations, they're the key. So what we do is we come up with a renovation budget, what we think, and then we share that with our property manager and say, we think we're going to do X amount of repairs at this price. Is this within your budget? Are we off? Do we need to go up or do we need to come down? And you really want to make sure that they're on board going in. Also, their property manager will be able to tell you their scope, right? That what they can handle. So can they do the whole unit turn, or are they going to leverage third party? You want to ask them that. Who's going to paint this unit? Third party or a maintenance guy? Who's going to do the flooring? Usually we'll have third party on flooring. And what we do is a combination of both, right? So our maintenance guy may do the demo. He may install appliances, right? He'll do the things that he can do, but we'll have third parties do some of the major things, like if we're doing floors in the unit, or if we have a lot, we may engage them to come in and just do all the painting. But you want to have that conversation with your property manager to determine how it's going to look, because it's going to affect your costs, right? So if they're a third party, you need to make sure that they're giving you quotes on a third party quote. All right. So thinking about that, now we'll go to the next, right? The actual unit renovation. And as you think about this, you need to look at your rent roll to determine how many units you're going to renovate. All right. So if you we've seen this on several properties where a seller will maybe renovate a certain percentage, right? They got 100 units. They may renovate 20. 20 of these units are already renovated. They prove out the business plan, said, hey, we can get $300 extra if we do this grade of renovation. And so as you're taking a property over, you now have to account for how many units you need to renovate. All right. So let's go ahead and bring the spreadsheet up and just talk through a renovation budget of what we use. So I'll share my screen now here. So as we evaluate a property, I don't want to show this one actually. I want to show this guy. Okay. So this property we looked at is 168 units. This is the renovation budget that we have going into it, right? So total amount of units, 168. Now you got countertops. How much does countertops cost, right? We know we can get that for about $2,200. And with this pricing, don't feel this isn't set in stone. This is going to vary by location. It's going to vary by market. It's going to vary by grade. Like we're talking about countertops here. Is it granite? Is it quartz? Is it just what you can get out of Home Depot? It's not granite at all, right? That's going to affect your cost. Just understand the things that you want to account for, right? We got appliances. You can do stainless steel. You can do black. We don't do white that much anymore, but the pricing of your appliances is going to vary based off of that as well, right? So cabinets, backsplash, you want to be thinking through all of those. And with this, the way we think about it is through the lens of the comparable properties. All right. So if you've seen pictures of the comparable properties in your market, do they have backsplashes or not? Right? If they're achieving that rent with a backsplash, maybe you need to put one in. But if they're getting the same rents without it, maybe you cannot. Okay, maybe you can avoid doing that. So as you look at your repair budget, you're sort of seeing what's going to give me the most bang for my buck, right? So maybe you take out the CapEx, the backsplash, right? Just zero that out, and you say, let's just spend that money. Maybe we don't have to spend it, or maybe we spend it on better appliances. Okay, so you want to think through this, or mounting we may take that $200 out of the backsplash and mount microwaves, right? So we'll put microwaves in here, which would bring our budget up to $1,600. Mainly, I'm going through the thought process of a renovation. So we're looking at the comparable units and we're seeing what do they have, and we're gauging it against the property and what we have. So do they have hardware upgrades, electrical upgrades? Honestly, we always do that. If we can go in, LED lights help out a lot, and they also save either you or the tenants money, and they last longer, right? Typically, we're always going to do hardware upgrades. Think about doors, doorknobs, even the fixtures that go on cabinets, right? All that's in the hardware upgrades. So we'll do that and just try to give it a more modern feel for the least amount of money possible. Okay. Then flooring, right? You want to do flooring. How much added rent can we get out of doing flooring? If it's got old, like just build a grade carpet in there, we probably want to replace that with luxury vinyl planks. 800 is a little low for that. We'll probably go up on budget for that. But anyways, if you start here, if you think through this and then you share this budget with a property manager, they should be able to tell you if you're on track or if you're off track. All right. Also, washer and dryer connections. Sometimes it makes sense to just buy one because you might be able to get an additional $15, $20 per unit just by having a wash and dryer. Over the long run, that may be a benefit to you as a property. All right, so that's interior renovations, and we always leave some room for just the unforeseen, right? There's usually not a lot, but there may be something unique to a property. Maybe it's got like the extra piece of granite over a kitchen cutout or something like that, right? So we try to account for that and add it with these extra lines right here. So that's interior renovation, and you try to come up with this cost. $5,600 is where we were per unit that we would use in order to renovate this property. Do you think about this? Can you just stick to that? Because maybe if $5,600 work, maybe we can come down on one of these items and go up in another one. All right, coming over to exteriors. And what we try to do is now buy properties that are at least 80s and newer, 90s preferably, right? And the reason we do that is because you end up spending less money on exterior renovations. All right. Exterior renovations are necessary, but they don't necessarily convert over to rental gains. Meaning that you can't say, hey, I put extra siding on the side of a building and now I'm going to get an extra $200 for that. Tenants aren't going to pay you for siding on the building. They aren't going to pay you for a better leasing office. But if you upgrade these things, you may win over more tenants because they get a better feel when they walk on the property, right? And so what we'll do is we'll look at the exterior of a property as well and say, how much stuff do we need to do? Do we want to change the signage? Do we want to maybe budget some money for landscaping? Do we want to paint the exterior of the building? All of that costs, and we'll come up with a budget for that, and we'll put that in our underwriting, right? So now we come to this thing where we have exterior renovations and then we have interior renovations, and we separate those two because the exteriors have a lot more fluctuation in them and they don't necessarily lead to higher rents. All right. Bringing those two together, we get a whole budget, which is our total renovation budget. We'll always put in some sort of contingency because contractors' prices will change by the time you do that. And then once we've got that, now we come into this and we share it with our contractors to come up with the renovation budget. And you want to do this on every deal that you do so that you don't miss anything, right? I've seen spreadsheets where you just say, hey, $3,000 a unit, $5,000 a unit, and there's nothing behind it. All right. But because you took time out of your day to view this, right now you can see this is what it takes to actually thoroughly do a renovation budget on a project and then get this information verified. So once you come up with a number, we've been doing this a while. So we typically just know some of these things based off the market. But you want to have official bids or at least the estimate from your property management company or your third party contractor. So we take that and then these change. And this all happens prior to us making an offer for the most part, right? As we do a property tour, we're now thinking through these line items, say, okay, let's do this. And then when we make an offer, we're basing it off of a renovation budget that we feel like we can stick to. All right. Does that make sense? I'll stop, see if we got any questions right now about that. So as saying, is it all right to put in use old washer dryer in the rental units? What's the pros and cons of of fitting appliances and rental uses, rental units. Thanks. Yeah. So I guess you were saying used versus old. I haven't found used appliances to be a good way to go. And the reason being they usually don't come from warranties, or the companies that sell them to you usually don't give you a warranty. It was bad for a reason. And then you end up having to repair. So what we do is just put a new one in there because it makes sense. And that's mainly off of everything. Um, the maintenance of that is really what you have to think through, especially if you're providing it as a service. So if you put in a washer and dryer, now if that washer dryer breaks, now it's on you, the owner, to do that. And we usually try not to. So what you'll want to do is maybe talk to a company that may provide that, where they give you the washer and dryer and you lease it. And that way, when the washer or dryer breaks, that company is responsible for repairing it. And then you just charge the tenant additional rent for having a washer and dryer in their unit, or it could come as an additional fee. Somebody also asked what was CM. That was construction management, right? So sometimes if you're doing a rather extensive rehab, your property manager may say, hey, when all these people come to the unit, the flooring guy, if you're doing roofs or anything like that, they're going to coordinate all of that. So they're going to make sure that they hire your third parties and manage your third parties, and they may charge you a fee for that. So that construction management fee is what we put in. That's CM. We'll do like 5% of that. That's a conversation to have with the property management company ahead of time, right? Cool. So lastly, the last thing I'll say with this is, now you want to think through the actual process of this in time, right? Time is what you want to think about with doing an apartment renovation. Can we finish this in 12 months? Is it going to be 18 months? Is it going to be 24 months? Right. And you have to think through how many units are turning over and how quickly your team can work. And what I've seen a lot of challenges, or a lot of potential problems come up because people don't think this all the way through. So you may say, hey, we're going to turn, say you got 100 units. And we're like, we're going to turn all these units in, well, let's say 120 units, right? And you're going to turn the whole property in a year, right? So that means you're going to turn 10 units a month. Well, where is your vacancy at? What's your occupancy at? Because if you're going to turn 10 units a month, you need to make sure you have 10 units available to turn, or at least you account for doing turns while tenants are still inside of the unit. So you want to match those up as much as possible. Don't go into a property saying we're going to turn all the units in 6 months. It's just not going to happen, right? There's going to be fluctuation. So as units get turned over, that's when you want to do your unit turns. And yes, you can hop in and do a turn while a tenant is still in there. What we'll do is say, hey, when your lease renews here in 3 months, this is going to be your new rent. Would you allow us to come in ahead of time and maybe give you some new floorings or new appliances or whatever it is that you feel you need, so that you're already set up ahead of time? But this helps you stay on track for your budget, so that you're able to turn all these units in a certain amount of time. Because the unit terms and the unit turns and the rental increases are going to go sort of hand in hand, right? After you turn a unit, now you can rent it for more money. That should make sense. So what you want to do is come up with an estimate. If we got to turn 10 units a month, now at the very beginning stages, you want to have a conversation with your property manager to say, we're looking to turn 10 units a month, or 4 units a month, 3 units a month, whatever it is. That's also going to play a part in who does the work, because your property manager may say there's no way we could turn 10 units a month with just us and this staff. Now we need third party. All right. So that's it. You mainly made your renovation, how many units you're going to renovate. You combine that with the speed of doing those renovations, and an estimate of the cost, which I shared, right? Take that to a property manager, make sure they give you a budget that you feel confident in, that they have approved prior to you ever going into the deal. And here's another bonus. Y'all don't have to pay me for this at all. I'll throw it in for free. The bonus is with sharing that, you also want to have agreement, because if they agree to $5,000 a unit and then it's month 3 and they paid $6,000 in costs, now you can say, what happened to the budget that you share with me? Why are we off? Right? We need to get this thing down to the budget that we came up with in the very beginning. And so you just avoid some headaches down the road if you do the work on the front end. All right, estimate that cost, put it into your underwriting, and then make your offers based off of that. But those unit turns allow you to achieve those rents. And usually there's some factor of multiple. I won't get into it right now, but if you say you got $300, say you got $300 in rental increases, you annualize that for how many properties you got or how many units you got, and then you can apply a cap rate to it. So now you can say, based off this renovation budget or these amounts of renovations, we're going to create an extra $3 million or extra $4 million in value by doing that. And once you do that, now your underwriting starts to make sense and why you offer that. Okay. That's all I got for now. Let's see. Do we have any questions? Boom. Looking here. Let's check it out. I think that I got the ones from Zoom. All right. So we're good. If nothing else, going once, going twice. All right, cool. Thank y'all. I appreciate this. Thank you for tuning in to talk about CapEx budgets. Take this, utilize it, put it in your underwriting, avoid mistakes, and this should be very helpful to you. I'll be back next week. We'll take Ty says that was sexy. I try to make it as sexy as possible. It's CapEx, but hey, we'll make it work. But yeah, we'll be back next week with another topic. Enjoy your weekend. Be the best version of you, because it'll make you the happiest. I'm out. Later.